put phones away. Fine. I'll put phone away.
Yeah, all good.
Melanie, phone away. And 3.
I need to get one more field without
1.
Get a bus cut.
Hell nah.
Come on. Just do it.
Alright, starting with number 1. Describe the slope as positive, negative, 0, or undefined. This is going up and to the right, so it's positive. And then if we calculate it, we're just finding the slope. So if I count this, we're going up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and to the right 3. So our slope would be 8 over 3. Questions on that one? For number 3, what type of solution does the following have? 1, none, or any? We could start solving this, distribute on both sides. And I really don't have to keep solving this because I can look at the coefficients and see that they're different, and that's going to be 1. You could have kept solving it and you would have got x equals 1 number.
Yeah.
X equals 1, yeah. Questions on that? And then number 5. Graph the following inequality. So we have to solve this first, get this back into slope intercept, subtract our 2x. And then divide everything by -2. And that's going to change the direction of the sign and make everything positive. It's going to switch the signs. So that would start at -3. Our slope is 1, so up 1 over 1. Put slope points at every up 1 over 1 or down 1 left 1. This would be a dashed or dotted line. So you just draw arrows at the ends. And then it would be everything shaded below. So like questions on that? Alright. So today we're gonna go through the last 2 sections of Unit 9, which are factoring. We're going to start with this single sheet first. That looks like this, so make sure you have that in front. Monday, if you want the review today, I can give that to you, but Monday is going to be your review day to review all of the 6 review sections. Wednesday is going to be your quiz, and Friday is going to be your test. So with these, we're looking for 2 numbers that multiply to be the last and add to be the middle. So for number 1, we can just find the factors of 12 first. What 2 numbers will multiply to be 12? 6 and 2. What else? Go grab your calculator if you don't have it. 12 and 1. 12 and 1. 3 and 4. And 3 and 4. Go grab your. So, of these 3 sets of factors, which ones could we add together to get 7?
Which would be with 3 and 4?
3 and 4. So we're going to make 2 sets of factors. Whatever the variable is, put that first in both. And then these are both positive, so plus 3, plus 4. Any questions on that?
Is that it?
Do another one, and then you guys can choose. So look at number 7. Here here we have a negative 18. Still find factors of 18. What times what will give us 18? 9 and 2. 3 and 6. 1 and 18. Because it's a negative 18, one of these have to be negative. Which pair could be used, which one would be negative? Would that add to be 3? So what is 3 and 6? Which one would be negative, guys? The 3. So we'd have n minus 3 and n plus 6. Make sure you guys are writing this down. Questions there? Look at this page. What other ones? We've done all of this before, yes.
Oh, we're going on the ones that we did already?
What other questions on this do we want to see? Do we go over and have questions about?
Wait, so if we do that, we get grade on this test, we got like the ones from before. Like if you get a high grade.
It'll go back and replace it. Oh, the
If you got a high
lower,
grade.
it's whichever's higher.
Oh.
We'll go back and replace it.
Oh.
But you'll still get this grading for it.
Okay.
There are no other questions. Look at the back. Look at numbers 1 through 18 first. Any questions we want to see? We'll go over there. Okay. Any others in that section, and then we'll do some of the bottom ones. So the ones with 2 variables work similarly, but you're just going to have 2 variables in your factors. So we need to find 2 numbers that multiply to be 51. If you're not sure in your calculator, start dividing by 1, by 2, by 3, keep going. Seventeen and 3. 1 more, but not 100%. But we do have 2 numbers that do work. If I were to take 17 and 3, how can I make that negative 14?
X plus 3 X.
It is going to be minus 17 and plus 3, but not exactly like that. Because we have 2 variables here, we're going to put the x first and the y second. And then it would be x minus 17y and x plus 3y. Questions on that one or other questions in that section? And look at 19. So you may see problems like this where we have something in front, but it's still dealing with a equals 1. So it's going to be a GCF, something these have in common. Remember that you can find your GCF in your calculator by going into math, going over to number, and down to GCD. But you can only do this with 2 numbers at a time. But whatever number is in front, that's most likely going to be your GCF. So I could divide each of these by 2, put that out front, because we want to divide it, but we don't actually want to get rid of it. And then if I divide each piece by 2, what's left? A squared minus 4a minus 45. 2 factors of 45.
15 2.
What others?
5 and 7.
What did you say? 45 and 1.
5 and 9.
5 and 9. Would any of those work to give us -4? Which one?
5 and 9.
5 and 9. We'd have to make one of them negative. Which one would be the negative? 9. So 2 out front. And then what would our 2 factors be?
Plus 5 minus 9.
K plus 5 and K minus 9. And that would be your final answer. Do you have any questions? Look at the others, 20 through 24. Any questions we want to see, do go over there. We're going to do one example before lunch of the other packet.
You have the option to get rid of them.
If you need more space in that small box, feel free to grab more paper.
Or you're
Okay, then go away.
$50 fee is like taxes.
Alright, we're going to do example 1. Always look for a GCF first. Is there something these have in common? No. There's nothing I could divide out of each. So the GCF would just be 1. I'm just going to put that off to the side so we know we checked it, but we couldn't divide or do anything with it. Then we're going to take the number out front and the number that's last and multiply those 2 together. And then we're looking for 2 numbers that multiply to be 6, but will add to be 5.
6.
Or some other factors of 6. 3 and 2. So with this, we're not going to just write it how we were just writing it. We're going to rewrite this into 4 terms. First and last stay the same. And then we put the 2 numbers we found in the middle, but with x since the middle term had an x. Does not matter the order in which you write them, but if you want to put the 2's together and the 3's together, you'll get the same answer at the end. Then we're going to split that down the middle. And we're going to look for what did these 2 have in common? X. 1 and x. But I can bring an x out front. And if I divide both of these by x, you're really just subtracting the exponents. What would be left here? 2x. And what about this one?
Plus 3.
Plus 3. What could we divide out of the last 2? Nothing except 1. So if nothing, always 1. But that would just leave it as the same. You want those inside pieces to be the same. 2x plus 3, 2x plus 3. And if that's the case, write your outside factors in one set of parentheses. And then just bring down one of these. And that would be our final answer. And we'll do some more when we get back from lunch. Right, so for example 4, does this have a GCF? Something we could divide out of each? No, other than 1. So multiply 12 and -5. What would that be? Louise, Kaden, one way. So we're looking for factors of 60. Start dividing your calculator by 1, by 2, 3, 4, keep going.
20.
1 and 3,
30.
3 and 2,
36.
6.
160.
So of this, which could we add or subtract together to get 11?
54.
Which one would be a negative? So rewrite that into 4 terms. The first stays the same, 12c squared, and then the last stays the same. The middle two are going to have c with it, so plus 15c minus 4c. Split that down the middle. What do those first two have in common? What can we divide out of those first two?
3.
C
Oh,
and
shit.
3, yes, both.
Oh, shit.
So if I divide both of them by 3 and C, what's left?
What's C plus 5?
4C plus 5. What about the last two?
Negative C.
Not negative C, they both don't have a C, but negative 1. Which would change this to 4C plus 5. If you can't factor out anything else, always factor out a 1, but in this case it would be a negative. So then what would the final two factors be?
3C minus 1.
And
4C plus 5.
I'm remembering that.
questions on that one before we do number 3? Let's do the same thing for number 3. Does that one have a GCF? Number 3. Something I could divide out of each. No. So then we're going to multiply 8 and negative 3. Negative 24. What are some factors of 24? 2 and 12. 8 and 3. What else? 4, 3 is only goes away. 24 and 1. Which of those could we add or subtract together to get negative 10? If they were both negative, they would add or subtract to get this, but they wouldn't multiply to get a negative 24, so not 6 and 7. 2 and 12. Which one would be the negative? 2. Would 2, negative 2 minus 12 be negative 10? It would be 12. So keep the first and the last the same. Put your two middle ones in there, plus 2y minus 12y. Split that down the middle. What could we divide out of 8 and 2? I'm sorry, the first two terms. 2y, which would leave us with 4y plus 1. What could we divide out of the last two?
3.
Yes, but it would be negative, leaving us with 4y and plus 1. So then our final factors would be 2y minus 3 and 4y plus 1. question 6. Numbers 4 through 9 are similar problems, but are there any of those we want to see you go over and have questions about?
I got one real quick.
That's 6? We get an hour.
Okay. For number 10,
Get up on
No.
these are going to have GCF. So if you see bigger numbers, assume there is a GCF. What is something we could divide out of each of them? 4. And if you're not sure, you could, in your calculator, start dividing each one by 4. Or do the GCD of these two, and then of these two, and then of the 2 that you get. Alright, so if I divide everything by 4, what's left?
5 squared.
Minus
Minus 3.
n minus
6.
Then the rest of the process is the same. Multiply 5 and negative 6 to get negative 30. And we need factors of 30.
15. 3.
If there's just one more. Doesn't matter. Are they in the right place? Okay. Which of these can we add or subtract together to get negative 13? One of them has to be negative, so that one wouldn't work, because it wouldn't multiply to be a negative.
15.
15 and 2 would. So keep bringing down that 4 on the outside. Leave the first and the last. And put 15, negative 15 and 2. Negative 15n plus 2n. And then split that down the middle. Keep bringing down that 4 from the outside. What do these first two have in common? 5 and n. If I divide those both out, what's left?
4.
N minus 3. And then what about the last two? What could we divide out of those? 2. Leaving
Minus 3.
So then our final factors would be the 4 from the outside, 5n plus 2, and n minus 3. Question there. Are there any others in this section, 11 through 15, you want to see you go over and have questions about? So then for the rest of the class, you could be working in either set of notes practice. Remember that you have Delta Math that is formative attached to this. Some that are due tomorrow, you're solving multi-step equations. The solve multi-step equations with variables on both sides and your x and y intercepts. Some of you have done those already, but still check. Does math for next week. This does math for 2 weeks from now. If you want the review on this, let me know and I can grab that for you.